Hi, it's Warren Huart here. Hope you're doing marvelously well. I'm with the very wonderful Master Mark Rubel. How are you?
What a pleasure to be here. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Now we are, well, let's qualify a few things. We're sitting here in Blackbird Studios.
This we are.
We're in Studio C.
That's correct.
Obviously in Nashville. This is a studio I've worked in a few times. This is the George Massenburg design room.
Yes.
When I was in here a few years ago, we ascertained it had a different console, a smaller console, which is like, took me back a little bit. And it's strange because I'd come in with the frame, we'd parked here at this side of the building. So when we were driving around, I thought I was lost because I hadn't recognized it. This is a very large complex.
Yeah, but it's a typical studio thing where it looks like a little house. And then when you go into it, it's a TARDIS. It just keeps opening up and there are more and more rooms and more consoles and, just about all the gear in the world, so.
And for the non-English people, TARDIS is a time and relative dimension in space.
Look into that.
Doctor Who. So thank you, firstly, thank you very much for, meeting with us on short notice here at NAMM.
Thanks for coming in, Warren. I really appreciate what you do. I think it's really important, and I like the fact that it's that you not only translate the technical part of it, but that it sort of relates to all levels of doing it, and that most importantly, I think you do a great job of translating the fun of it and the passion for it. And, I think the basic thing that drives everybody to do it at every level. So thank you for what I consider to be a great service to the industry.
Well, thank you very much for that, because that's the only part I think that I can really, such an interesting thing that you're touching on there, because I was talking to somebody about this the other day. I think I was, and hopefully this helps, I think I was making music on a level of playing guitar to writing, to engineering, to producing, to mixing, all of the above for probably 25 years of my life before I actually believed that I was doing it for a living. And I try, and the only thing that I still actually can kind of wholeheartedly believe is that I love music and I'm passionate about it. The rest of it, I don't know. We're standing on the shoulders of giants, aren't we?
That is correct.
So it's like to say that I'm a producer, engineer, mixer, or guy, it's like, yeah, sure. Yeah, whatever, yeah, of course I am. But, there's the Jeff Emmerichs and the Al Schmitz and Bruce and the Bruce Botnicks, who doesn't get talked about as much, but whew, listen to those Doors records.
Roy Haley.
Yeah.
Who was here last week, by the way.
Wow.
With Paul Simon.
Amazing.
That's a trip.
So, enough about me. Here we are in this beautiful studio. You're heading up Blackbird Academy.
That's correct. Kevin Becca and I are the co-directors, and we have another teacher named Jeremy Cottrell, who is the original assistant at Blackbird, so he knows where everything is and how it works. We've divided the school so that I'm mainly the classroom guy and try to teach them as much as I can and introduce them to as many people as I can and take them all over. Being in Nashville, we're just in the center of hundreds of studios, so I can take them to little bedroom studios and, Addiction Studio and RCA Studio A. I take them to Muscle Shoals. I take them to Memphis. And we get to learn all sorts of things. So I'll have them for 2 weeks, and they come into the Blackbird and make records for 2 weeks, seriously, in a real studio. And they walk in, there's an empty room. They have to set everything up, plug it all in, do it right, make it all work, troubleshoot it, run Pro Tools, headphones, patch it all. And at the end of the day, tear it all down and then repeat the next day. And so even though it's only a 6-month program, by the time they get out, they've spent 3 months making records in arguably the best studio in the world. One
of the reasons I wanted to talk to you was about that, but also the tie-in.
Yeah.
That you are a credible producer, engineer, and mixer.
Thanks.
You've made music. You make great stuff. We were just listening to something at Vance Powell's place, which I thought was stunningly beautiful, and you'd recorded a vocal in a way that I completely related to, because it also reminded me of the Visconti Bowie thing, where Bowie would sing into a room, and Visconti would mic the room, so the reverb, and you did that with the chamber in D, which is between the control room and the live room, that beautiful chamber in there. So I wanted to talk to you about, obviously, your journey, but also a little bit philosophically about what we do in mentoring and teaching and stuff, and you have massive first-hand experience on that. So let's start at the beginning. Where are you from?
I was born in Princeton, New Jersey. My father was a research mathematician. My mother was a journalist. And if you put science and human interest together, you get making records.
Great.
They gave me a battery-powered tape recorder when I was 6 or 7. And I would spend hours recording things and speeding it up, slowing it down, laughing, playing it backwards, which I basically do now, except people pay me money to do it.
Right.
But I realized a while ago that I actually was recording music years before I had a record player. So I was making it before I was really consuming it. But although my parents weren't musicians, there was a lot of music in the family. We moved to Champaign, Illinois, which is a university town, because they had a great mathematics library. And I went to school there and started a recording studio as soon as I got out. Have done all sorts of other things, managing arts councils and being a booking agent and that sort of thing. I've been a musician since 1970 of sorts, bass player.
Wow.
And then we started the studio in 1980, which we've been running in various forms, called Pogo Studio. And I got to make a ton of music there. Champaign-Urbana is a fantastic music scene. It's a regional scene, but Alison Krauss is from there. REO Speedwagon. I produced a band called Hum for RCA. It's a band called Poster Children, who are on Warner Brothers. Dan Fogelberg, Steve Goodman, Dee Dee Bridgewater, jazz singer. Ian Hobson, a great classical musician. Just amazing numbers of great musicians, and it's a great scene. I got to be part of a very thriving, but small and supportive scene.
Wonderful.
And everything was going great. I've been teaching since 1985. I taught 84 semesters of recording in my studio there at Pogo. And that was wonderful, and I was very happy.
What made you, that early on in the 80s, want to teach?
Well, partly I think I came from an academic background and, had gone to college and learned a lot from my teachers there. And I think also it was just an interesting opportunity. At the time, I would have been 27. It was an interesting opportunity to, A, have a more stable income, rent my studio to a college for use as a classroom. So those were attractive things from a business point of view. But also, I think I realized then what I know to be a fact now, which is there's no way to really learn something like having to teach it,
yes.
as you know,
Yes.
Having to explain it, and then also having people in a room. Even now, after teaching for 32 years, I still get questions that I get perplexed by, and I do my best answer, and then I have to learn what I don't know. So it's, you have to be able to frame things, and you have to be able to frame things philosophically for people, not just what to do, but why. And especially with our new school, to really try to give them an overall framework to put everything into. Because I have a liberal arts degree, I subscribe to the idea that you learn how to learn. And,
Absolutely.
And that's something that happens as everybody, well, as we know, every time you walk into a studio, you learn something. You try different stuff. When we were starting the Blackbird Academy, John McBride, who owns Blackbird and started the school with us, said, "I'm worried the 6 months isn't long enough." And I said, "John, 60 years isn't long enough."
Sure,
Right?
that makes
we
sense.
could be teaching people for 60 years and we'd still be discovering new things. So I was in this wonderful town. I had a job at a university that was very comfortable. I had a studio in a house, in a warehouse building that was paid for. It was thriving. It was in a rock and roll band that I'm still in. I've been in since 1980. You'd think we'd be good by now, but oh well. Anyway, and everything was great. Being in Illinois, I also taught music business at a university and recording. I would bring my students either to Memphis or to Nashville to expose them to real serious stuff. And I met John through that and just couldn't believe this studio, which is a kind of a wonderland. It's the Willy Wonka chocolate factory of audio.
Sure.
I was just so blown away by the place and by his vision. And, he's just a sort of an elemental force of nature. He just has so much passion and drive for it that he's been able to put all the best stuff and people together into one place. When Martino, his wife, would play in or near Champaign, I would bring my students and he would talk to them. And in 2009, they were playing and I called them up, said, "Would you be willing to talk to the students?" "Yes, absolutely." "Would you like tickets?" And I said, "Sure." He said, "How many?" "I don't know, it's 25 or 30, okay?"
Yep.
"How many friends do you think I have?" Anyway, I said, "How are you doing, John?" And he said, "I'm really frustrated because I have all these interns who have paid huge amounts of money to go through recording schools, and they don't know anything. They don't know the first thing. They don't know how to set up a microphone. They don't understand how a session works. They don't know how to behave, most importantly. They're more in the way, we're spending more time unlearning them the stuff that they think they've learned. And he said, I'm the kind of guy who, you can either do something, you can either complain about it or you can do something about it. And I'm the kind of guy who's going to do something about it. So I'm starting a school. And I said, John, yes, I'm going to be your teacher. And I quit my job and I shut down my studio and I sold the building and I moved here with no contract.
Wow.
Wife, cats, our guinea pig Huckleberry. We all moved down here, and for all I know, we could have gone 3 months and he could have said, well, maybe I don't want to start a recording school after all. But I believe in him. And I had been teaching this long, but building sort of the ideal recording school in my head. What would I, given an unlimited palette, what would I really want people to learn? And basically, we've been able to build the school that we wish we could have attended ourselves.
That's wonderful.
That would have put us 15 years ahead in our own careers.
What are those things that you feel are unique about the experience?
Of course, a strong and well-organized background in all of the essentials, Pro Tools and signal flow, microphones and how they work. How do you design a room? How do you make speakers? What is it about acoustics? Those things, I think, are all important, but they should all be a given. They need to know that so well that they don't think about it. Because none of those things are an end in themselves. Those are all parts of the process of realizing people's visions and dreams, which is what we're about. So the other things are etiquette, how to behave, how to treat people, how to know what your role is and fill it, to try and hammer attitude. So John's motto is, attitude is 99% of the gig. And he's right. So, when they get their first job assisting somebody, that person isn't going to care what a great mixer they think they are, or if they think they know how to get a great snare drum sound. They care about what are they like to be in a room that's sort of the equivalent of being in a submarine. It's high pressure. Do they know when to talk, when not to talk? Do they know how to make things happen? Can they fix what needs fixing? Can they anticipate stuff? Basically, they need to be telepathic, invisible, and infallible. It's quite simple.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's really important. And then the other thing is that I try to teach them and that we try to teach them are an overall philosophy to fit things into. Not so much that I'm trying to make them into miniature versions of myself, but I'm trying to give them the tools and expose them to the thought of, and to as many different people who do this, so that they can formulate their own idea of why they do what they do and how it fits together. Because people get so focused on the actions, which mic or which of this 100 plugins am I going to use, without having a real overall notion of what they're doing and why they're doing it. And it turns out that making all those infinite small decisions goes into recording is easy if you have a vision. And so we try to help them develop that by exposing them to literally over 100 mentors in the course of 6 months. And so we had Nathaniel Kunkel in yesterday, or on Friday. We had the president of Roland in, vice president. We talked to hundreds of people, and I take them to all sorts of different studios. They get to soak it in, and they develop a vision. And I think because so many of those professionals believe in what we're doing, they're willing to come in and pour what they know into them. Another thing that we teach them is listening. There's so much focus on the doing. And so if you take a video camera and you film a recording session, you think, oh, it's all about twiddling knobs and plugging stuff in and running around. That's less than 50%. That's all an expression of trying to realize what you're hearing in your head and comparing it with what you're hearing coming out of the speakers. And that's actually a really difficult thing to develop. And so we just spend a lot of time listening to music, listening to recordings, good recordings, bad recordings, over-compressed recordings, under-compressed recordings. How did they get that sound? Talking to the people who made them, learning how to listen into something and listen selectively and develop their mental solo button, where they can figure out, oh, this is what the hi-hat is doing, or why did they put that shaker there, So those are among the things that we teach them.
I think 99% of people now are not going to go and work in a studio. They're not going to leave a program and then go and become an assistant. Not to say that that doesn't happen. Of course it happens. But I think probably a lot of people watching this will be like, well, you know, what is Mark talking about that would help me as a engineer, producer, mixer, songwriter, musician, whatever, on my own? You know, because I think that one of the things that you were talking about that John had said to you about like interns are coming in or assistants, etc., with people skills, lack of. You talked about like, you know, just the basic skills of plugging in things, of making. That's the stuff that applies not only to working in a major studio, but on a day-to-day basis when interacting with clients. And I think that that's where we're moving to. I mean, that's the real world. This is a luxurious, beautiful, like you say, one of the, you know, this is an Abbey Road level studio. And not wishing to be a name check a British studio, but it's in that world. We're talking like top 2 or 3 studios in the world. However, the likelihood of them getting a job in there is 1 in, you know, there's 5 people in this studio and 5 people in that person that are at the studio they're assisting. The likelihood is they're going to take that information, they're going to go away and they're going to build their own careers in their own studios. So those are the skill sets that I think are really important for us to sort of like help people with beyond the training for a studio.
I agree.
So I like the bit where you were talking about taking them to home studio environments.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that, the outside of this?
Certainly. Well, I'll say a couple of things. I mean,
please.
One is we have a higher ratio, I think, of people actually that want to go the traditional route.
Of course.
You know, assisting an engineer or producer or going to a big studio. And we've had good success with that.
Oh, I'm sure you have, yeah.
But we definitely are all aware that things have changed so much. And you know, even here in Berry Hill, there are 70 professional studios in a square mile. But just about every house in Nashville probably has a studio of some sort. And there's so much work being done there. I would say that most of what I talked about applies to somebody who's doing it themselves.
Absolutely.
Or working in a smaller situation. How they treat people, being fast, having a concept of what they're doing, being good listeners. Another aspect that we teach that I didn't mention is business and entrepreneurship.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, how do you figure out where the work is? How do you find the work? How do you interact with people? How do you deal with taxes and income and billing? If you have a studio or you are a professional and you want to do work, how do you promote yourself effectively? All those things I think are critically important. And it's difficult because it's as with every other kind of interaction, there's some sort of middle ground. There are people who are overly self-promoting in ways that are ineffective. And then there are also people who think they're just going to be discovered, and that doesn't work either. So it's a very subtle kind of a thing because of the delicacy of the social world of music and the music business.
It's huge. Yeah, I wanted to touch on that because I wouldn't, I know you weren't implying this, but I don't want people to feel like you're only teaching this just for people to go off and work in professional studios. I think all of the things you're talking about are completely valid for what you and I do, making music every day. It's like, I was joking about I don't think I've told this story on camera, but the first day I worked with Aerosmith as the band, I, for some unknown reason, decided to make a joke. And it was, Stephen was working with Joe on a harmony, and Joe, they weren't quite getting it, so I leaned in and did the Spinal Tap thing. No, it's in the same key. It's not, I think it's a barbershop raga, did the Spinal Tap thing. And in that moment, I'm like, I could get fired.
Yeah.
I've been here for 15 minutes with these guys, and I just made a joke, kind of at their expense. And in the 5 seconds that I was waiting, my heart went ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. And of course, Stephen just turned around and shot me this like massive toothy grin. And I realized that in those situations, and you can tell me many more stories, people want to work with other real human beings, and they're looking for you to not be all sort of like, walking on eggshells around them. And it's just understanding your place. Now, obviously, they'd hired me as an engineer, not as an assistant, so that I had probably a little bit more of a opportunity. But those are the sort of skills that that can take years to learn, or can be mentored. You can show the stuff, and such a big part of it. Between that, I think the people skills and the other thing you're talking about, which is huge, is the business skills. Those are probably, and you can tell me I'm wrong, but those are probably more important than the technical.
I think so. The technical parts can be learned.
Yeah.
And the way that people treat people I think, and the kind of experience that they have working with you is what's going to bring them back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I would venture to say that this is a fantastic time to be in the recording world. It is so diversified, and it's one of the things that I have to warn our students about, because we get a lot of people who are well known and made big records in past decades, and they like to complain about, how budgets and, now that it's terrible, they don't have $350,000 to make a record and so forth.
Sure.
Change is inevitable, first of all. And so to adapt to it is essential. But we're living now, and at a time where there are so many opportunities, and I think that the industry has sort of multiplied, and there are so many different things that people can do, and people that are making music or tuning things or doing samples and working on scientific stuff and, video games and everything else. So working with manufacturers, there really are many opportunities. I'm not sure everybody thinks about that when they decide to go into this. There's a lot of work. It's just become sort of fractured and compartmentalized.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, no, I think it's incredibly exciting. Yeah. And to sort of counteract, because I hear the same thing, that, off of camera, I have many conversations with guys with 30 years careers that are complaining all the time. And, I react the same way you do. I'm like, this is a really great time, but I realize it's not a good time to have your feet up and wait for the phone to ring, which was a little bit of what was going on all the way through the 90s. And I like this because now your work speaks for yourself, and your work being not just the music that you create, but your ability to interact with others and run a good, clean business. All of that stuff, your credibility as well as your credits means a lot now.
Yeah.
I like that because that's a level playing field.
Yeah. People don't feel as though they're entitled to work. They, there's no cushion under them. They have to keep doing great work.
Yep.
And if you're an artist, you would want to. And so I think it sorts out the people who just want to coast or rest on their laurels, or complain. I tell the students that what I think is one of the biggest, everybody's talking about all the problems in the music business. You know what I think is a problem in the music business? Pessimism.
Sure, I agree.
We could sit around and complain about how great it could be or how great it used to be. It doesn't matter. It is what it is now. There are people making a living doing this, many, many of them. It's hard for me to get many of our guests in because the same people who are complaining about how terrible it is are so busy they can barely spare an hour or 3 hours to come in and talk with us.
Sure.
That's
right. If they're not complaining, it's because they're busy and they're working.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The time when things are changing, that's when you can make the most difference because
yes.
It's difficult for people going in because they sort of have to succeed and invent or reinvent the business as they go. But for people who are willing to take that responsibility, that's the best time you could get into.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt that there's been a kind of a theme for me here coming to Nashville because so many people have come here for that very purpose, to kind of reinvent themselves. And this morning, and I've interviewed Mark Needham and Matt Mahaffey today, and both of those guys exemplify what we're talking about. Like Mark, here he is, he's going out, he's finding bands and artists, and he's developing them. And those bands are bands like, Neon Trees, Imagine Dragons, The Killers, and lots of other stuff that he's had a hand in developing and turning into big stars. Yeah. At the same time as mixing and producing Fleetwood Mac records and Chris Isaak. So he's never, and when I asked him, I know why, but when I asked him, why are you doing this? He goes, I just, I'm always, if I'm not moving forward, I feel like I'm going backwards. So he's always reinventing himself. And I've known him for about 12 years and maybe a little longer, 15 years maybe. And he's been through 3 completely different systems. When I first worked with him, mixed on an SSL. And then about 5 years after that, got rid of the SSL. He got himself an Icon when nobody else had an Icon. Now he's mixing using Ravens.
Oh, wow.
So he's gone from complete console to Icon using summing to now entirely in the box.
Yeah.
And so there's a guy, who's got a 40-year career, and he's still cutting edge every single time. Like he's the first person I knew that had an Icon. He's the first person I know that was using Ravens. I mean, and I love that. I was with Brent Fisher the other day, and I interviewed him after a session, and I was like, how do you think it went today? He goes, it's a great day. I learned so much.
Yeah.
There's a guy with a bunch of Grammys going, I learned so much.
Yeah.
I love that.
And there you go. Attitude is everything.
Yeah. So I want to go back a little bit. So talking about recording and stuff like that, what was your reason to get into this? You sort of like, we talked to like a technical reason, but what inspired you as a kid? Why were you like, I've got to do music?
It's always been music for me.
Yeah.
You know, I love it. And it's a great opportunity to be around people and be a part of the creative process and to learn. And I love all of that.
What was the thing that you first heard that was like, wow?
Well, the thing that made me a bass player is the bass line in Ramble On by Led Zeppelin.
Great.
Yeah. And that did it. And that's probably what's still pushing
Great.
from all that time ago. So it's that, and it's also, we're in such an interesting place where we're at the intersection of so many different areas of interest. So, there's the arts and humanities, there's music, there's technology and commerce. And all those things have their own art and fitting them all together. And then just the whole psychological aspect of getting to help people express themselves. And also when you're working with a band, getting to be a member of their tribe for a short period of time. It's like traveling,
Sure.
You join their group, you have your own in-jokes, you listen to music they're listening to, you live and breathe, you take on their goals as your goals, and you try and make it the best you can, and then you're done with it. And then in comes another tribe, and it's like you've moved to a different country, and yet you're in the same room. So it's part of that. And it's also fun, honestly, to accumulate gear and have a studio that you can be constantly, improving and working on. It's like having an old car that you're constantly tinkering and getting different, wheels for it and stuff like that. So
fantastic.
Yeah, and I love the atmosphere and the environment of our studios. And it's a particular, I think everybody just is suited to different things by their personalities. John McBride is interesting because he's a great live engineer and he's a great studio engineer. For me, I love the studio because I like to be able to concentrate on something and work on it and have second chances and also to be able to balance the sort of committing to things, but also have enough of a chance to go in and fix it after the fact that you can make a creation that will, outlive us all. Nice.
Beautiful. I love the Ramble On reference, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
As I was rambling on.
Yeah. 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 That's beautiful. I remember hearing that for the first time. I think for me, bass, I started off as a guitar player and it was Queen, Brian May, but I think Mr. Big.
Yeah.
That walking line.
Yeah.
Was still sticks with me as like my favorite bass line moment.
Yeah.
Ramble On, I think.
What was the first live band you saw?
First live band I saw was the Kinks at Guildford Civic Hall with 9 Below Zero opening for them.
Man, that's a good start.
It's a good start.
Yeah.
And then Neil Young. That was a weird tour. It was Kinks, 9 Below Zero, and then Neil Young. It was a weird tour. It was when he first signed with Geffen, and he was just
Transformer.
He was just
that's a weird record.
Yeah. He didn't do too much of it, but he did do a few songs on a vocoder. It was Wembley Arena. I remember that.
My first concert, sort of rock concert was Sly and the Family Stone.
Oh, that's a good start.
Yeah. Still sort of living on that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave, I got to the front of the Kinks Center, and I'm standing there, and I have like a denim jacket on. I had long hair at a time in England when everybody had short hair. In that sort of late 70s period, everybody was punk rock and stuff. And Dave Davies reached down and gave me a pick, and it was the triangular Gibson, the big triangular Gibson black pick with the gold thing on it. And my parents still have it. I've got to dig it out. Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and they were a punk rock band in the 60s. Yeah. That's like proto-punk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were probably our garage rock band. You obviously had yours, and we try to, as Mike Bloomfield said, the English took American music and sold it back to the Americans.
Yeah. Well, it's the case. I was living in Champaign, Illinois, in the Midwest, and I thought, man, these English guys, it's amazing this deep music, that they're making, and it's amazing how soulful it all is. And by the way, who is Willie Dixon?
Yeah.
And then I realized, eventually it sort of comes back to the blues, and you go, oh, that guy's 150 miles away from me in Chicago, it turns out.
Yeah.
But you have to have your gateway into it. And then it never ends.
Yeah.
I think it's just fascinating and interesting how everybody who makes records is kind of a musicologist.
Sure.
And that's so much of what we do, you know, it's just like, and I still do all the time. I'm just following these rabbit holes and, you know, delving through the history of it, finding bands that I didn't know about and connecting them with others, you know, just constantly learning.
If I haven't said it, I know I've said it to Eric, I don't know if I've said it to Matt over there, but like, if you don't know who Robert Johnson is, just stop, find out who Robert Johnson is, and then you can keep doing music.
Yeah. It's universal, and it's in outer space, right?
Yeah.
He's on the songs are on the Voyager, representing the entire human race in interstellar space at the moment.
That's pretty darn amazing.
Pretty deep, right?
Yeah. So let's do it. Let's look around this beautiful studio.
Let's do it.
I think that would be kind of fun.
Fantastic.
We're in Studio C, the Massenburg room. Yeah, let's talk gear.
Cool.
God bless it. If only you had some drum kits.
I know. Each of these stacks is a drum set. We've got round badge Gretches, Ludwigs, Slingerlands, Radio Kings, Craviotto, DW, Tama, Pearl.
Beautiful.
You name it. Custom built kits, old kits.
The red sparkle Ludwig's up here.
Yeah.
Wow. Craviotto. If my friend Ben from the Fray is watching, we always used to call these the Caravaggios. It's a long joke. Craviotto, Caravaggio.
Caravaggio. These are all Craviotto custom-built snare drums up here.
Beautiful.
One of them came out of some wood that was under a lake for 500 years. And then back
More
here,
behind,
that's a wall of 140 snare drums.
like you do.
Like we all have at home.
I'm going to sneak by here. Wow. Yeah, when I was here, like 7 years ago, didn't have quite so many snares.
Yeah.
Got a little carried away since those days. Wow.
This third row are all Keplinger
Acrolite
snares.
here.
Steel snares, iron snares, brass and copper, all custom-built Keplingers.
Wow.
Ludwig's in the second row, going back to 1919. Got Bell bronze snares over here.
Beautiful.
These are Joyful Noise snares, which are amazing recreations of old early snares and Black Beauties and stuff like that.
Wow.
And I want to show you this one snare drum.
Please.
Maybe I can hang it. We have an entire titanium drum set.
A titanium drum set. Oh, God.
And there are two, there are two snares.
Weighs as much as Eric does.
Yeah. We got two snares, 15 and a 14. And it's got all of this kind of steampunk stuff.
That's amazing.
And it's custom built, has a plaque dedicating it to John McBride and Blackbird. And then it has this function, which is a custom-made tuning key. And you can tune just the bottom lug,
Oh, what a smart idea.
just the top lug,
Wow.
or both,
Together.
like
Very
you
smart.
do. Like you do. But actually, it's a
Very, very smart idea.
It's a replica of a snare drum that was invented by a guy named Billy Gladstone in the 30s. He was the drummer for the Radio City Music Hall Orchestra.
Oh, wow.
But it weighs a ton, gold-plated hoops. Can't wait to see the rest of the kit, which is going to take 4 people to lift the bass drum. So, thank you.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a heck of a heavy
Yeah, we
snare.
got all of that stuff. We have this thing.
Hi-hat, splash cymbal?
Yep. 30-inch splash cymbal.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Looks better than it sounds. But it's
That's probably why it's sitting down there and not currently on the drum kit.
Yeah, it's more of a prop than an instrument, really. But
there's the rest of that red sparkle kit.
Yeah, we got a leady drum set. And all this stuff gets used, you know. It's not, again, like the microphone, it's not a collection. It's an arsenal of working stuff. We rent it out to people, but make it available to everybody who records here. And we have a full-time drum tech. We were talking to him the other day, and he said people don't request drums, they request sounds. And so that's nice. They can, you know, they can just say, we're looking for a 70s sound, or we're looking for a big open sound or ambient or whatever, and he can give them whatever they need. And because he's full-time, you know, he's here keeping everything in heads and properly tuned. So it's, you know, it's not like we use 4 of these. They all get used, which is awesome.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. What a wonderful idea.
Cool.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It's a really nice room, actually.
That's a great room with a pair of 1608 strapped together. I love that.
Yep, expanded 1608. The 1608 was designed at John McBride's request. So for a while we had serial numbers 1, 2, and 3. And for a while we had 2 serial number 1s, which is odd. We had the prototype and the first production model. We still have number 1 here. So
I think with the fray we got in the first 10.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we did the whole second album on one of these.
Oh, yeah.
An amazing console.
Yeah, it's quite functional, huh?
I'm a big fan. I found that when we were, I was talking about this the other day, the Vintage King. I don't think there was anything on this console I didn't use, because I was coming from preamp straight into Pro Tools, and then I was monitoring on on large fader, you know, separately. So I had my monitor mix set up here, and I was doing things like I bussed the top and bottom toms. So that would be like the rack bus, and then this was the floor bus, and then I mult my hi-hat. So that was the mult of the hi-hat as well. Everything got used, and it's an incredible sounding console.
Yeah, it sounds great. It's quite flexible.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
So that was Studio E. Next to us is Studio G, which is rented out to a producer, and then through here we've got Studio F.
That's your boss?
Yeah. This is Studio F.
Oh, wow.
SSL 9K, 5.1 room. Sounds amazing in here. Lots of outboard gear. It's built to the specifications of a guy named Justin Niebank. Have you worked on Dimidio consoles before?
Kind of, because I worked at Sunset. You know, that's the heavily modded, you know, Jensen transformers, but that's the Dimidio mic pre's in it. So I know that, but not necessarily a completely built by him console. So
yeah, they're very rare, and it sounds unbelievable.
Right.
You know, it's basically an API, but it's like a custom built sort of hot rod.
Great.
Unbelievable sound.
Does it have the API EQs the same as? So it's very similar to the Sunset.
Yeah, it's 24 channels, 24 API EQs.
Great.
It's like 94 312 cards in it with Jensen transformers, and it's unreal.
It's gonna be amazing.
Quad. It's from 1970.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
So it's early.
It's a beast. It's early.
Wow.
It's the Creedence console. It was built for Fantasy Studios.
Wow. How did you get that?
Through a broker in 1985.
Oh, at a time when probably it wasn't very sexy.
Exactly.
Everybody wanted a 4K. I mean, this is a 9K.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just got in at the right time, and I love the thing. It sounds phenomenal.
Wow. Well, congrats.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, I'm
you'll have
excited
come
to
out
see
and
that.
See the place. It's pretty cool.
We'll come back when you're ready.
Yeah. So stuff, things. We got all of those.
Beautiful.
Yeah. This is Studio H.
Oh, I like this. This is a funky little room.
This is Studio H, formerly
great.
formerly George Massenberg's office.
Oh, wow.
And the studio room in here is where they would calibrate and test the Massenburg EQs and compressors. As you can see, we've got a bevy of microphones.
Sure. Great place to cut some vocals. You've got a 47, 251, a C12, and, oh, what?
M49.
And M49, yeah.
And so Steven Tyler, you've heard of him, I think?
Yes.
Yeah, that guy cut a bunch of vocals for his country record here.
Nice.
Martina McBride does her vocals here.
This is very Steven.
It is.
Velvet and everything. He'll probably come in with his velvet pants on and cut some velvet vocals.
And blend in.
Yeah, blend in nicely, yes.
Taylor Swift, Keith Urban, Dolly Parton. A lot of people come and go through this room. And it's very modest. And this is API 1608 #1.
Oh, this is #1. This is the first
number one.
I wish that deserves its own photo, doesn't it?
Yeah, you could take a picture in the back, actually, where the
can you see the serial number #1?
Lower right from where you are. Good?
Yeah, totally. Moving on.
Should have food here soon.
Beautiful.
Take you through rentals.
Oh yeah, let's do rentals. Wow. Wow. You getting this on camera? Wow. Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
Yeah. We're not messing around here, Warren. So, in Berry Hill, there's something like 70 pro recording studios. And in Nashville, depending on your definition of recording studio, thousands.
Yeah.
And so people can come in and rent gear. And actually, anywhere in the continental U.S., they can rent gear. So if they want to try stuff like this out, and the rate is, for a compressor, $40 a day.
Oh, I know. The prices are fantastic.
And if they rent it on Friday, they can keep it till Monday for $40. Yeah. And the rate for a U47 C12, $100 a day.
Nice.
So we get people coming in, whether
you
they're
do
in
the 4-day weeks?
Yeah.
The 3-week months?
Mm-hmm.
See, that's awesome.
Yeah, it really is. And, it's partly, I think, because John really loves the gear and he wants people to use it. And he wants, kind of in parallel with the school, I think he wants to educate people so they have access to things and hear how good it can be. And he wants the stuff to be used to make great records. And so it's amazing. It's all coming and going. And, it's anything from one little 500 box to an entire studio's worth of stuff.
We were talking to somebody at NAMM, and it was that company called Nanolog. Mm-hmm. And the guy that runs the company is a research scientist from Alberta. Mm-hmm. And he invented this, I don't know what you call it. It's like a new transistor. That's not true. It's an abbreviation. It's going to be on a video. But essentially, it increases the dynamic range in a distortion unit in particular. It's really, really disconcerting when you first play with it because you're like, what? There's so much dynamics in this pedal. Anyway, so it's just a component that he's invented. He was using a 63 Strat and a 65 Fender Deluxe. I was like, wow, is this yours? He goes, no, I got it from Blackbird. It's $100 a day. I'm like, $100 for a 65 Deluxe and a 63 pre-CBS Strat?
Well, check out the next dial. And then there's this, right? But see what you think of all this next dial.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Studio B.
So this is mainly a mixed console?
Say again?
Mainly a mixed console?
This is mainly a mixed console. There's a
few pre's
smallish room in there. We can do overdubs, vocals, and actually there's a chamber next to it with another chamber above it. So you can actually make a little room sound quite big.
Wow.
96 channel Legacy that's been modified. Each of the 3 stereo buses has different amps on them. A has stock API amps, B is inward connections, and C is Hardy 990s.
Oh, wow.
So you can try your mix out on different amps, or you can submix the drums through one amp. And
Nice.
it's got flying faders. And then under here, if we run out of 48 flying faders,
It's some Neves.
yep, 16 more flying faders you can patch in and out of.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah, the Dixie Chicks record that won so many Grammys was mixed in this room. Last 2 cheaper records were mixed here.
Howard mixed in here?
Yeah.
Howard Willing?
Ton of overdubs and stuff. All kinds of cool stuff.
Oh, great.
The Judds, Dolly Parton, all kinds of people have been in this room.
Right. And Jim Scott mixed Dixie Chicks, did he? The big one.
I don't recall. I think Richard Dodd may have been involved.
I know he
somehow.
mastered it.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think Jim mixed it, but
There you go. We had Jim in not long ago.
yeah, he's
He
great.
came and talked to the students. What a great guy.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart.
Man.
Yep. Total sweetheart.
Yeah. Everybody freaking out.
I think they're up and going by now. It's a whole variable they have experience.
Beatles stuff. All of them.
You go.
I can't stop this feeling, running through the night, all night. You make it all night.
How's it going? I was in here like with a frame maybe a few years ago, and Brendan O'Brien was in it. He was camped down here for a while. He did like 3 records in a row.
Awesome.
Yeah. You guys having fun?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. We came in to scare you. Is it working? Are you
Probably
scared?
not. They look too happy.
Slight.
Oh,
I'm Josh, by the way.
I'm Warren. Nice
Josh
to meet you.
Warren.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, this is, I don't know if Mark told you, but this is a student tracking session
Hey.
right now. So us 3 are students and
Marvelous.
band and record them.
Excellent.
Sounds great.
Ready to listen back? Let's do that last part.
Cool.
Okay, cool.
We'll leave you guys to it.
Very cool.
Great seeing you.
Wonderful seeing you.
Have a wonderful time. Yeah, I remember Brendan was in here. And,
Oh, Brandon O'Brien?
yeah, and he was tracking drums in the small room
Oh, yeah.
to the side. Some tape machines.
These are called tape machines. When I was your age, we used to record on tape.
I'm not that much younger than you.
I'm kidding.
You mean when you were this man's
Well,
age
that's
over
what
here?
I'm trying
yeah.
to say.
I still have a tape.
No, a tape?
A tape,
You know,
yeah.
if you run people's vocals through, it makes them stutter. I don't know
Yeah,
if you're
yeah,
aware of
stutter.
this. Uh-huh,
Yeah,
it's a stutter.
With the tape.
This is Ethel. When we had the Styx record in here a few months ago, we had Fred and Ethel locked together.
Nice.
That machine's typically for slapback, and then this is for mixing onto.
Great.
And then we've got satellite uplink, downlink, servers, converters, clocks, new trash can Mac over there. It's replacing all these cheese graters down here.
Yeah. That's crazy. I still have my cheese graters.
Yeah, me too. Computer floor, you can lift the floor up. There's a million miles of wiring underneath it.
So this little baby is replacing these huge things.
That is Pro Tools, professional tools.
Wondrous.
Yes, isn't it? Here. So let's go take a look in the big room while they're not using it.
Excellent.
Here's a Blackbird VI,
Uh-huh.
custom made by our tech.
They sell those?
I don't think so. I think they're for internal use only.
Matt, could you just put one of those in your bag?
Was it? No problem. We'll get to the mic locker, then you have their bag will be much.
Yeah, exactly.
B15 with a U47 on it because
Like you do,
you know
because that's what you do.
because we can. And
Fantastic.
this is the big room.
Yeah.
It's a good sounding room. One of the features is to make it work. One of the features is that we can change the liveness of the room by opening
This
or
does
closing these
remind
panels.
me of, God, what room is it? Is it United? You know what I mean? A classic kind of Beach Boys room.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it United, the one that has the same? Yeah. Definitely got that feel, which is great. High ceiling, which is wonderful. Look at that behind there.
An auxiliary control room upstairs.
What
It's
a great idea.
classroom that doubles as a secondary control room.
Wonderful.
Headphone stations for everybody,
Yeah.
so they can blend their own mixes.
Nice.
75-watt crown. We've got a
4038 on the ground in
poles
there.
out here in the room. There are various microphones. I'm proud of the students that they didn't go overboard on this. You know, it's
Good.
you know, we've got all these fancy mics, and they went pretty relatively minimal. We've
Yeah.
got a Keplinger iron snare drum on the kit. RCA 44 on the kick out, which is
Yep.
a brave thing to do, but it sounds
great.
amazing.
Sounds amazing.
C24 overhead.
Yeah. Gorgeous.
EMT sitting in the corner, 9-foot Baldwin Grand. I'll show you, we have this feature, which you have to sort of point up there, but we have this feature.
Oh. Strap your mic on and
We
then
can
put it
hang
back
mics
up again.
You can get them where we want them to be and not take up floor space. The little shelf is for the tube mic power supplies.
Oh, yeah.
And then at night, Kevin Becca and I put on leotards. We do an amazing trapeze act. Oh, it's unbelievable.
Are we early?
Yeah, you have. Yeah, you might make it for the second show.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Diffusive ceiling.
Yeah, so when I was here, Brendan was tracking drums in here. Yeah, in this room.
Works really well, and you
Yeah.
can keep the door open, and then it bleeds into the echo chamber, which is
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, it sounds great for drums. You know, if you want a deader sound, and especially with the chamber, you can always liven it.
Yeah, so this is hello! Is that a Bloomline AEA up there?
R88, I call it the bug zapper.
Yeah.
And so clap your hands again. And if we wanted to, shorten the reverb time. Then we shorten the room. Goes from 8 feet to 22 feet. So we can really vary the volume a lot.
Wow.
And we got a little speaker in here so we can run signals through it when we're mixing.
Fantastic.
And all non-parallel walls, non-parallel floor and ceiling. Glossy marine paint so it keeps things echoey.
It's crazy. Hope that comes through nicely on the camera. Love it. Great!
Nothing like it. I don't know if you like stuff like that.
If you're into that kind
Yeah,
of
if
thing.
you're into that. Wiring. So there are black outlets and orange outlets. So they're two completely separate power systems for the whole facility. We've got dirty power and balanced, plus 60, minus 60, filtered power for technical power. Microphones, of course, speakers, headphones, MIDI, digital audio, data, and time code distributed everywhere.
Great.
So we got that.
Fantastic.
I know.
Fan bleeding tastic. What we got hiding in here? Empty case.
Do you want to see the upstairs?
Yes, please. That would be fantastic. I love this.
Yeah, it's cool. And the idea also was to have, well, you know, when the students are in here, we have no more than 5 in the control room. So we can have 2 control rooms working on the same recording, or 3. Or we can have a band down there going to this control room, and then a band in the other room, the other control room. And we also wanted to outfit this and make it a little more minimal. So it's,
A little bit more real world.
yeah, that's the idea. You know, no console, and, you know, decent acoustics and nice gear, but not necessarily your huge Blackbird control room with $1 million console. And it's great. But we also have real sessions in here. We had Pharrell in here.
Great.
We had various big bands come in here and record. And it's nice. The kitchen is bigger than the control room. Just good ratio.
Yeah, you could live in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could set up a bed, So like a prince.
That's
live
it.
in the studio.
There's a roof patio. You could sleep in a hammock.
Oh yeah. This is great. 2 bathrooms as well.
Yep.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll move in.
Okay, cool.
that'd
The
be
rent's $2,000 a day.
See my accountant, Matt. Matt,
Okay.
write him a check.
Right.
This is where it gets very crazy.
So Blackbird has the biggest collection of recording microphones in the world, as you know, and we're in the biggest of the 4 mic lockers, plus we have all the rental mics. So open the middle drawer there.
The middle one?
Middle one on the end there.
Look at all that. Well, those 77s.
Yes, they are.
Wow.
We have
beautiful.
77A, which goes back to 1929.
This one?
The A is about 4 times bigger than those. It's in
Oh.
it's in another studio, but it's huge. We have 2 of them.
Wow.
Open the bottom drawer.
Oh, yeah.
KU-2 skunk microphones.
Yeah, these are-
First directional mic. Rubber bands are failing on that one.
Wow.
Yeah. Made for, sound stages, sound film.
Look at
Really incredible. Open the middle drawer. And notice what amazing care we take of them and how padded and individually boxed they are.
that. Oh, wow, look at that.
KU-3s, custom built for Disney in 1938 to record Fantasia.
Wow.
We got probably a dozen of them. There's a BK5s, which are made to record gunshots for westerns, or capable of withstanding guns. And then the one in the back, there are 2 in that drawer. That's a PB-31.
Ay caramba!
Yeah, how about it?
Wow.
From 1931.
Yeah, Matt, take that.
Golly.
You won't put it in your pocket, it'll rip your pocket in half.
No kidding.
That feels like it's made of lead. Wow. That's a mic.
Then upper right.
44s.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And they're all out working.
They're all out being
There's
used.
usually like 4 of them.
Now, that attests to how popular those are.
It's the first ribbon mic made, 1927.
Wow.
Telefunkins. Right.
Another.
It's like one of those kettle weights,
Oh, yeah, there's the ribbon there.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Cast iron.
God bless it.
Sounds great. I used it for overhead on drums. It sounds great.
Yeah. What's that?
That's a Melodium. It's a French ribbon mic.
Wow.
We have 6 of them. Of course. C12As.
Huh? I actually have a pair of these. So
Yeah.
I do have a pair of 77, so I'm feeling okay.
There you go.
Ish.
C12A is an undervalued microphone.
Very undervalued. Beautiful mic.
Then all 414s below of various vintages. And it's just, U87s. We have the Sly Stone one, but it's out, working apparently. This is an unusual microphone. What would you think this is, Warren?
It looks like a Neumann Gefell. Is it a SF, what do you call them?
6.9 is what
Yeah.
you think it is, which is a stereo mic. This is a quadraphonic mic. This is a QM 6.9.
Oh, wow.
So it's basically 4 U67s.
4 U67?
Actually, this one's 487, so it's solid
487s.
state. But so it has red, yellow, blue, and green outputs, and
Wow.
literally like polar patterns, north, south, east, and west.
Wow. That's crazy.
So there's
What are these little babies here?
These are some
Are they
kind of a-
AKGs?
I'm thinking they're Microtechs. No, they're old AKGs. I don't see these used much. It's a D17.
Yeah. Don't know. Now I want to use them.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes me want to use it.
FET 47s and Bayers.
Some Shaps. Oh, wow. Philips. Wow, look at these Philips.
Looks like something your doctor uses to look in your ear.
Yeah, exactly. Insane.
And so it's virtually endless. There's Sankens in here.
Which I don't know at all. What can
These
you tell
are
me about
great.
this?
It's called a CU-41. Massenburg used to use these for overheads. Therefore, I've been using them for overheads.
I was about to say, if you-
Beautiful. It doesn't have the sort of peakiness that you'll get with a typical condenser. Very smooth in the top end. I would say almost ribbon-like. It sounds like a ribbon with a high-end shelving EQ on it. Really gorgeous. Yeah, and there are 3 of them in here. And, you know, who knows what else. These Sankens.
I don't know that company at all. At all.
I
Completely. Obviously, I should, but I don't.
Very, very good. These in particular, I think the 41 is just Japanese, sort of like, yeah, I mean, I was going to say it's a version of U87, but it's really, that's doing a disservice. Incredible microphones.
Wow.
And KM84s. You're familiar with a D12.
Of course.
But I'm not sure if you've seen this.
Is it not 30, is it?
Yeah, there's 20s and 30s.
This is a 20?
Yeah, and we use them in bass drums when we can fit them in.
Yeah, I use 30s,
Yeah,
but not the D20.
pretty cool. D19s we use a lot because the Beatles used them a lot.
Because we use it. Yeah. Where's the D19s?
Some of them are here. I think this is one in the little jewel box.
There it is.
The thing about D19s is you have to. They seem to be very variable from specimen to specimen. You have to buy 5 and then pick the ones that are good.
Jeff Emmerich, when asked about why he used D19s, he said it was plugged in.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll sometimes I tell
It's
them.
just like moving. Oh,
Yeah.
they're moving quickly with ideas, so just over there,
Yeah.
over here.
Yeah, sometimes I'll tell the students I use a proximity effect. I use whatever mic is closest.
Right.
You know.
Ulrich Wilde said that to me when I was at we were on a live Q&A, and somebody said, "Which is the best mic to use?" He said, "The one that's in your hand."
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
a great answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one that works. So AKG-C12s, pretty good mics.
Yeah, not
They're
bad.
okay. And there are 14 of them in this case. We got more scattered throughout the facility. 251s, you like those?
Yeah, I hear a rumor that there is a stereo 251 lurking in this.
That is correct. In fact, it is.
That's what I was told I had to get a picture of
Yeah.
if there was one.
It is. Some people say it's the only one ever made. So this is your basic 251.
Yeah.
We have E's and non-E's, and the difference is the tube. So the non-exports have AC701K tubes in them. So
Oh, wow.
they're actually better sounding. We've got both. Then you've got your C24s, pretty good microphones.
Oh, yes.
There are 4 of them here.
4.
Yeah, well, you know, you never know. And there's this one, and what's the serial number, Warren?
001.
That would be the first one, 1953.
Crazy.
Yeah,
Amazing.
and we use it all the time. Like you were referring to, is the
We were
world famous.
specifically told by Matt Mahaffey.
Mm-hmm.
Matt said to us, make sure you get a picture of...
This is the Telefunken 270. This is a stereo 251.
I got a picture of this as well.
It came from Ocean Way Studio. This is the mic that John throws at people when he's giving them a tour. He tosses it, and you can swivel the top mic. Serial number 1.
Serial number only 1. Only 1 in existence.
Serial number 1 of 1. John lent this mic to Telefunken USA, and they made copies of it for 14 grand, but this is the real thing.
Wow. Beautiful.
It's a beast, and it sounds really good.
Oh, I'm sure it does. Oh, hey now, that was a C12. It's going to cost you 12 grand.
Well,
Oh,
We
no.
got plenty of those.
Matt, what are you doing?
Heading home to Jellicoe, I guess.
This,
Oh, wow.
and this. And this.
Oh, never seen one that looks like that. Was that for broadcast only when it's in black? Is that right?
I'm not sure the history of this microphone. And it has, I don't think it does have a serial number. It just says black. But notice it has a Telefunken badge on it.
Yeah.
So we have, I think at last count, 38 U-47s.
That's crazy. I have one.
I have one. I'm very proud of it. And 2 more came in last week that were with the original receipt from 1961.
Oh,
The original testing stuff from Gotham.
I heard you,
You
told
heard
me
about this.
You told me about
Yeah,
this.
it had the little silver stickers on them that Neumann would put. These have never been opened. They were made in 1961. No one's ever opened them up, so they got original everything. And the guy who owned them died in '86, so they've been sitting in a box unused since 1986.
Were they in a plastic bag?
Yeah,
So
they're probably
because sometimes the case is decayed, don't they?
right. They are functional, which is good.
These cases are all good.
Yeah. So this wall is all U-47s. There's a Church 47. It's out working, but you familiar with that? There's a guy named, I think, Frank Church, worked for MGM, and he
Yeah.
would order capsules from Gotham and build his own 47s. And so we've got one of those. And there's just, just everywhere, and people come in and they can try them all out, see which one suits their voice best, and then request it by serial number. This one has a new Vister. I used to think it was a great travesty that Gotham would take the VF-14 tubes and put new Vister tubes, which were
Sure.
miniature tubes assembled by robots in a vacuum. But being able to use them, I've discovered that really a lot of the new Visters sound amazing.
Yeah, they just sound amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's consecutive serial number of M50s,
Wow.
M49s. Behind you are U67s and M269Cs.
Here's a couple of U48s there. That's a big
48s, yeah.
deal. They're rare as rocking horses.
Yeah, and they're great.
Yeah.
And partly because people don't know what they are, so they get less use.
Sure. And I think they only made 750 of those.
Is that right? Yeah.
And they made 10,000 47s. So quite a lot. I believe those are the right numbers.
C500.
Oh, wow.
It's a beast.
Yeah, Jack raves about this. Jack
I
Douglas.
like this mic a lot.
Yeah,
I like it on top of a Leslie.
I think this got a lot of use in New York on a lot of those great records in the 70s.
Yeah, it's really good.
He's a huge fan.
And
UM57s over there. Now
yeah.
this, my favorite mic is this 563s.
yeah,
There's something about this that I think there's a romance with them. I've always had great results, but it's just also the way they look. Oh, so this has got a different capsule.
that's the end firing one.
Ah, not the lollipop one.
Yep. So we'll have to find another one here. Here's the capsule.
These are just, oh, look at that. It's just like a work of art.
Yeah, there's something about the aesthetic experience too.
I feel like you're opening a jewelry box.
Exactly. The crown jewels.
Yeah, there's something about 563s. First time I ever got to work in a real studio and I had a pair of them, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
That and the KM series. I have 56, which is one of my favorite mics.
That's a great microphone. We've got those 256s, 53s and 54s, nickel capsule. This is a 53 Omni.
Yeah, beautiful.
Incredible for string instruments, mandolin.
Oh yeah, my 56 on the mandolin is
It's a beautiful
unbelievable.
thing. Yeah. And then we have SM2s, which are stereo versions. There's something unusual here. KM64, which is a tube KM84.
Really?
In the wrong box. Unless this actually is a KM. No, this is a KM64.
Wow.
Amazing acoustic instruments, acoustic guitar, piano top.
Mandolins.
Yeah. It's unreal.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about them, but they're just incredible sounding.
Well, it's something about the combination of the small capsule and the brightness of it and then the sweetness of a tube
Yeah.
that just beautifully complements things. And small capsule condensers, I think, are underutilized as vocal mics.
Right.
Like a KM84 makes an amazing vocal mic, but it just doesn't look as impressive as a big 67 or something over your
Right.
face. All kinds of Coles ribbons and stuff. This is a very unusual microphone, except here we've got 4 of them.
I like that.
This is a MM4. These were mics that were made for
Broadcast, maybe?
No, these are for manufacturers to test speakers and to test microphones and for scientific research. It's a tube mic, but it goes out to 50K.
Wow.
And the reason that the small diaphragm is all the way out on the stalk is because at 50K, the waves would be blocked by the body. So we're trying to get out in a free field.
How smart. Smart, those Germans.
Yeah, they kind of knew what they were doing. And it sounds fantastic on drums and guitars and everything else you can stick in front of it.
Wonderful.
And then...
No, I've never seen that before.
Yeah, it's...
Never even heard of it.
Yeah, well, there's the one, and here are 3 more. And then just more mics. We've got AEA ribbons. We've got a Calrec sound field, Sony 800, Decatree. And this is, like I say, this is locker 104.
Lock of 1 of 4.
Yeah, we've got CMB3s with swastikas on them. You know, there's John likes the 7150, the RFT 7151, which is a huge bottle mic.
Yeah.
And so there's something like 30 of them here.
Wow.
Because he likes it, and well done because they sound fantastic. So, yeah, it's outrageous.
Outrageous.
Yeah,
Wow.
great place to make a record.
Beautiful. Mark, thank you ever so much.
Warren, what a pleasure getting to hang out with you. And
It was a
hang out
lot
in
of fun.
This amazing place.
I know. I think the mics are just insane.
That's true.
I mean, beyond all the other craziness. Oh, and quickly, we just sat in this beautiful room and listened in 5/1 to Dark Side of the Moon,
Flaming
Flaming
Lips.
Rhapsody, Flaming Lips. It was pretty amazing. Oh, can I say the other one?
Go for it.
Thriller in 5/1. It's never been released. Amazing. Anyway, so thanks ever so much.
What a
Appreciate
thrill.
it.
Thank you, Bruce.
Have a marvelous time recording and mixing. Leave a bunch of comments and questions below. Share it, like it, all that kind of good stuff. I might even ask Mark to answer some of the questions.
Anytime.
Excellent.
Cheers.